Hi and welcome to my channel. In this video I'll show you how to flush the power steering fluid on a W210 Mercedes Benz E320 and similar cars with this type of power steering configuration. So apply the power brake and chuck the rear wheels. Open the hood up to its vertical position, and then remove the engine cover. This is a maintenance item that has to be done every 30 to 50,000 miles. A lot of times it's being neglected, but if you would like to extend the life of your power steering system, then you should really maintain this or add this to your regular maintenance schedule. Like I said again, 30 to 50,000 miles. Jack the front of the car on jack stands. If you don't have a jack and jack stance, then don't fret. You can still do this with the tires on the ground. It will just be harder and take a little longer because when the tires are up in the air, then they move freely without because a lot of you would have to turn the steering column left and right many times, and so it becomes tiring if without assistance from the power steering system. You do this without the engine turned on for quite a while until the very end, but you can still do it without jack and jack stance. But first you want to open up the tank or the reservoir and siphon out, suction out the old fluid. As you can see here, the color is brownish. It should be light green. And then you'll find the return line towards the bottom of the tank. Connected to the tank by a hose clamp. Undo the hose clamp, and because you have emptied the reservoir, very little fluid, if any, should come out. Still, it's good practice to put a rag there to collect any drop or two that may come out. And I often use these silicone, high-temp silicone stoppers. They come in an assortment of different sizes, 100 or so from Amazon for about $12. And I'm using a carpenter's clamp here and I think this is a sour cream container. But anyways, so clamp the hose to a vessel and start. First, you would have to fill the tank. So you've removed all the old fluid from the tank, but quite a bit of fluid still remains inside the system. And so you want to use either the Mercedes Benz hydraulic system fluid or this Pentosan CHF 11S, which you can get from online stores for about $19 as of February of 2022. You can also get it from in the U.S. from brick and mortar stores, AutoZone, Advance Auto, O'Reilly's, and others for probably twice the price. But I've used about 1.5 of these cans. You can do away with just one can, but to do a thorough flush, then a can and a half is what I would recommend. So you fill the tank with, because you have removed the old fluid and now the tank is empty, so you fill it with fresh fluid, and then you without turning the engine on, you steer left and right, all the way to the right, all the way to the left, and the old fluid from the system will come out through the return line into the catch container. And you'll have to do that about 3 times or so. And so this is really the best way I've found to do this. There's a faster way too, where you do where you don't turn the steering column left and right. You just you fill the tank, and you turn on the engine for about 1 second, maybe 1.5 seconds, no more, and then fluid will come out of the return line, and you fill the tank and do the same thing a couple of times. But if you leave the engine on, and that's why I'm not showing that method, if you leave the engine on longer than you should, then you could ruin the system. So this is the safest way, not the quickest. There is another method too, where you don't open up the return line. You suction off the old fluid from the tank. You fill it with fresh fluid. You close the cap. You adjust the amount of fluid inside and make the adjustments based on the readings on the dipstick, which I'll show you at the end. And then you drive the car for a few miles, 50 miles or so, come back and repeat the procedure 3-4 times, and eventually you'll get all the old fluid out. So this is probably the best way to turn the column right and left multiple times, replacing the fluid in the tank, and you'll hear some gargling, which would tell you each time when you have to refill the tank, or you can just visually inspect and make sure that the tank is not empty as the column is moved left and right. Because the engine is not turned on, even if it goes below the level of the tank, it's okay, but you'll hear a gargling noise, and that would tell you that it's time to refill the tank. And so you do this, like I said, you flush the tank basically about 2-3 times, and if, or until you see the color clearly change from initially brown to a mixture of brown green, and then eventually darker green, and then light green. So when you see light green coming out of the return line, then it's time to reconnect the return line. And that's where I am right now. And so the tank is almost empty at this point, but I'm siphoning whatever an ounce or less than an ounce that's left in the tank at this point, because I'm getting ready to remove the silicone plug and reconnect the return line. So I don't want any of the I don't want any of the fresh fluid that's in the tank now, very little of it, to come out. And so I'm removing the plug now. You can see there's just a few drops are still coming out. And then replace the hose and tighten it. If you don't have jack and jack stance and you want to do this, like I mentioned, there was another method where you fill the tank and measure it and make the adjustments and then close the tank and then drive it for a while and then repeat the procedure 3-4 times. That's one method. The other is that you do everything I'm doing here except underground with the wheels underground. And if you go that route, make sure the car is on soft ground, dirt maybe. If not, because otherwise it will eat out your tires, the tire threads, or you know, you can place trays under the front tires. You know, you would have to drive over something, you know, where you know, whatever is underneath the tire would take the brunt of the weight of the car as you keep turning it left and right, so that the tires don't wear out. But anyways, so here I've closed the return line and I'm filling the tank, not all the way to the top. And so turning the wheel is still left and right, and waiting for to see formation of foam or bubbles on the surface of the fluid. As you can see here, air bubbles will form inside the system, and the reason you keep turning the wheel now left and right. Before it was to force the fluid out of the system to the return line and out. Now that you're done with flushing, you want to get rid of any air bubbles, and so you'll keep turning left and right while the car is still on jacks until all those bubbles are gone, and you don't see any foaming on the surface of the liquid or the fluid. And as you can see now, the bubbles are pretty much gone. I'm trying to get a close-up of it so you can see clearly that there are no bubbles anymore. And at this stage, after you've connected the return line to the tank, you want to do this about 15 times. 15 times to the right, 15 times to the left, all the way. I would say 10 to 15, but to be safe, about 15 times, especially if you don't have a helper to turn the column for you. And as you can see, it looks very clear and there are no bubble formations whatsoever. And so at this point, you can remove the jack stands and lower the car. Check the dipstick and then make add some fluid. And so the dipstick has got two minimum and two maximum markings. the first two markings closest to the tip of the dipstick stand for minimum and maximum of 20 degrees centigrade. And then the second two lines, the second two markings are minimum and maximum for 80 degrees. So you want to turn the cap all the way to the right while the engine is on, and then you want to make sure, since the car is cold now, it's close to the maximum of 20 degrees, as you can see there. It's not cold. The engine has been on and the steering has been moved left and right quite a few times, so it's close to the maximum of 20 degrees. And then what you want to do is, of course, replace the cover and then take the car for a drive on roads, you know, that not the straight roads where you would have to make a lot of left and right turns, basically using the steering, and then come back and while the engine is still on, check the fluid level again at using the markings for the 80 degrees, and you want it to be not above the maximum of 80 degrees when the engine is hot, or the steering fluid is hot. You want it to be right below the 80 degree mark, and that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.